Hey there, friends. Here is the shoe tutorial I was promising you. Hopefully this will help you guys get through this easily. So, you need a shoe. Remember what I said, any shoe will be fine. You can do boots, regular sneakers, you can do cleats, anything you'd like, any kind of footwear. This was the example that I was using in class. This is a Jordan 4. And I'm going to show you a few different ways to add a pattern to this section right over here, right by the tongue. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do it, okay? One is kind of the easiest incorrect way, and then a decent way, and then the best way. But they all vary in levels of difficulty also, because they contain more steps. So when I say the wrong way, I don't mean that you shouldn't use that way. I just want you to understand the ramifications of doing it that way, because it's a destructive process, and in Photoshop that means you can't fix it later. So in Photoshop I have my layers panel open. I've already unlocked this layer. If you don't see your layers panel right here, alright, if you open up your screen, it looks like this. You're going to go to Window, you're going to go to Layers, and then there's your Layers panel. I'm going to grab a Louis Vuitton pattern. So I've already gone and searched up LV pattern. And my high recommendation is to, in the images section of Google, is go to Tools, go to Size, go to Large, and that way you'll weed out any small, low resolution results. Alright, so grab the one that you want to use. I kind of like this camo one here. I'm going to open that up. Alright, I'm going to right click the larger version and copy image. I'm going to click back on Photoshop, so I'm back in Photoshop. I'm going to hit Command V on my keyboard, and now I have layer 2, which is going to be pattern top left. I like to label everything. I'm going to make this a little smaller and then bring it over here to start our 3 different ways. Alright, first way, and the easiest way, is I'm going to lower my opacity of the pattern so I can start to see the shoe. Alright, now I can kind of see where the outline is for where I want this pattern to go in. Now is a good time to move this around to figure out where you want it exactly, and maybe what kind of tilt you want on it if you want anything like that. And now I'm gonna go into the eraser tool. The shortcut is just E on your keyboard. It'll bring you right here to eraser, and the eraser tool works just like a brush. It has a hardness and softness value. You can adjust the size. There's different brushes in Photoshop that you can choose from. I'm just gonna use this I think it's hard round brush, and I can start to erase. Easy enough, right? That's it. Really it. So you would just erase everything around the area that you don't want. So all the pattern that you don't want would just be erased. And this is the easiest because it's one tool. You did it pretty quickly. You know, you would spend more time than I am on this. And in the end, you could bring the opacity back up. If there's any edges that you miss, you can go back in with the eraser and just take care of them. Okay, looks alright. Now, the problem with that is if you look over here, in my layers panel, the pixels that I took out with the eraser tool, they're gone. I can't bring them back. So if I did erase a little too much, like I could do Command Z and go back in time and do all that stuff. But if that's, you know, that's the easiest route. It's not correct because it's destructive. It erases pixels, okay? Here's the second way, and this is a correct way to do it. It's non-destructive. So one more step really is you're going to take the layer mask. I'm going to make a layer mask right here, this button, okay? I've shown it to you 1,000 times. Rectangle, circle in the middle. Get the brush tool. Now, this is where people kind of get a little confused because there's a couple things that look like brushes over here. The brush tool is just a paintbrush. There's no other graphic around it. Okay, and the easier way to get to the brush tool, in my eyes, is just to hit the letter B on your keyboard, and it'll go right to the brush. B for brush. Okay, as we know, a layer mask works by erasing pixels, but only in a mask. So that means the pixels are not being deleted, it's non-destructive, and we have the ability to bring pixels back if we made a mistake. So I'm going to start to erase this. Let's lower the opacity again like we did in the first method. Okay, and I'm going to go around and do the same thing. Okay, just taking out the parts of the pattern that I don't want in my shoe. And I kind of purposely did this poorly because I'm going to turn the opacity back up and we're going to see that it needs some fixing, right? So when I come in here and I can go and I can erase more. But what I also could do that I cannot do with the eraser tool is look at this area right here. I erased too much. Down here are your colors. Right now, black is the foreground color, which means I'm painting with it. But if I switch this to white, I can actually paint back the things that I erased. So I like to zoom in really close so you get a good edge so it looks realistic. Okay, poor photoshopping is usually done because you're too zoomed out. If you're doing stuff out here, you're not really seeing the full, the detail of what you're trying to do. So I encourage you to zoom in. Command plus 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 plus. And this is nice. You can do that. Oh, that's too much. Just hit X on your keyboard to switch to white or to black, and then change that, and then you could go from there. Okay, so we're going to, so like I said, if you paint with black, you'll erase. If you paint with white, you'll bring back. Okay. So in this case, we could just erase with black, hit X, paint with white. All right, and now I'm going to show you the third method, which is very similar to the second method, just a little different. I'm going to delete the layer mask. You don't need to delete the layer mask. I'm deleting the layer mask just to make another one. Now look at the layer mask right here. It's white, right? And I can see my whole pattern when this layer mask is white. If I make this whole layer mask black, I see none of my pattern, right? See how my layer mask is black now? This is white. This is black, white, black. Okay? To make the layer mask black, or to switch it to the opposite, so from black to white, from white to black, from black to white, from white to black, I'm hitting Command I on my keyboard. Okay? Command I is for inverse. I'm inverting the color, black to white. So I want it gone, so I don't have anything here anymore. I have my brush tool. I have white. I'm going to paint white on this layer mask instead. I'm not taking away, I'm bringing back. I took away everything in the, every part of the pattern is gone. But now when I paint with white, I bring back the pattern. I think this way, this is the third way, most difficult because it has the most steps. But I think this way is the best way because it's non-destructive. You don't need to lower the opacity and see where you're erasing. You're literally just coloring, like a coloring book. And I'm coloring with the pattern that I want in here. And one little trick for this coloring is the shift key, all right? If I click once here, and then I move my mouse all the way up here on the strap, and I hold down shift and click, it'll make a completely straight line. Let me show you that again. I click once, make a little circle. I go up here, hold shift, and click again, it brings me a completely straight line. You'll notice my hardness is all the way up at 100. When you go along edges, you want to keep your brush hardness at 100 because when it's lower, the paintbrush kind of acts like spray paint and it will spray some kind of unwanted areas with what you're painting with, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to paint this in real nice. I'll just show you one little thing and then you should be good. I hope this helps. So paint, 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 paint. Notice I'm zoomed in. That's pretty good. I'm going to zoom out. When you zoom out, it looks pretty solid in there. I like to play with these blending modes right here. Okay, like multiply looks really good. Okay, this is normal. Multiply darkened it up a little bit, kind of made it look more part of the shoe. I think that's a great blending mode to use. And that's how you add things to your shoe. If you need help changing colors, I'll either make another video or call me over.